CF Montreal picked up their first win of the season in game number 4, and boy, oh boy, was it a biggie. 3-2 versus the Philadelphia Union in front of 23,000 and change at the Olympic Stadium. Speaking of stadiums, will Stade Saputo be renovated, or will CF Montreal have a new stadium one day in the future? CF Montreal president Gabriel Gervais hinted at something like that a couple of weeks ago with Olivier Brett at BPM Sport. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the young players. We'll talk about the team. We'll talk about transfer fees. We'll talk about everything CF Montreal. I'm Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk, coming up right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. CF Montreal Talk.
Here's the chance. Here's the chance. They've got the goal. Absolutely incredible. Cameron Porter delivers the goal to send Montreal Impact into the CONCACAF Champions League semi-final.
The sickest CF Montreal podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And here we are. On Tuesdays, we're going to get into the habit of actually having interviews with members of CF Montreal or former players or just anybody else in the soccer world that can give us an opinion on CF Montreal. And for our first ever, for me, it's a pleasure and it's an honor. I'm very happy to be joined by CF Montreal president, Gabriel Gervais. Monsieur Gervais, bon après-midi. Good, how are you?
Very good, thank you, Tony.
Thank you for doing this. How does it feel, for a change, to be, since Saturday night at around 9:30, the talk of town? Ça arrive pas souvent, là.
Actually, it feels good, but more than anything, it was the energy we felt at the Big O. What a fantastic finish. And yeah, I'm really happy, first and foremost, for our fans that finally saw our first goal, first win of the season, but also for our players, our staff. You saw how happy they are. It's been a long road till finally playing at home, getting the first win. So really delighted with the result.
I wore this shirt especially for you today because felicitat means la bonheur, right? Happiness. Yeah. And there was a lot of happiness. You know, it's funny you say that, Gabe. I'll call you Gabe if I can, because obviously we go way back. Another win, another loss, a tie. It wouldn't have changed anything for Hernan Lozada, but I have to tell you, watching the game, seeing his reaction when the goal was finally allowed on VAR, seeing his reaction after Kyoto's goal, seeing the relief. I mean, I felt happy for everyone, but I have to tell you, it must be pretty special when you're a brand new coach. You come in a situation that's not evident and replace a coach who had success here, and the games are going by. All's to say, I felt really happy for Coach Lozada.
Well, same here. I guess not everybody sees the day by day, but he's an extremely hard worker. He's very perfectionist. He cares so much. And, you know, it was, like you said, I think you said it very well. It was a sign of relief for him, right? To finally get that win, to get that emotion. We like that. You know, we like players that have emotion. We like coaches that have emotion. And yes, I'm delighted for him because, you know, we deserve this. We truly deserve this. We've been working very hard. And you're right, it's not an easy situation for him to come in this way and so many injured players. But you know what? He held to his beliefs and, you know, he made those subs late in the game. They can go either way, as you know, Tony, and it worked out. But those players fought, and you saw the players, how happy they were. And they were happy for, obviously, their teammates, the fans, but also for the coach, which is extremely important.
Yeah, and here's hoping that you like members of the media and podcasters that show emotion and have emotion as well. And if you do, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, but listen, Tony, if I can just tell you an anecdote. I mean, if you remember in 2004 when we won the championship, you know, at home at Claude Robillard against Seattle, I remember that team a lot because, you know, I was playing like with my brothers, my good friends, and you know, we wanted to win for everyone in the organization, starting with our ownership group all the way down to our equipment manager and the people that took care of the field. And, you know, Nick DeSantis was the coach back then, and I wanted to tear it up, and I wanted to win as much as I wanted to win for myself as for him, because I know everything that he had done for the club. And I'm just naming Nick because he was my coach, but same thing with Mauro Nevio back in the day, you know. So if we can get that extra spirit, if I can call it that way, from our players that not only want to win for themselves and for their teammates, but also they want to give a little bit for the coach, perhaps even a little bit for me, who knows? I think that can bring you over the edge and do great things.
Gabe, you bring back some really great memories because I started pretty much in September of 2002. And in 2004, I used to come to your practices pretty much all the time. And back then, they took place at Soccerplex Catalonia, First Avenue in Lachine, which, by the way, unfortunately, in the next year or so is going to be taken down and they're going to build condos. But I don't know if you remember this, Gabe, but at the end of practice, when practice was over, they would allow members of the media to go on the field. And I used to take penalty kicks on Greg Sutton. François-Étienne Corbin of RDS used to be there, and sometimes he used to go in goal. Jeremy Filosa, my buddy, used to be there. Randy Phillips of the Montreal Gazette used to be there. And Martin Smith of the Journal de Montréal used to be there. So if memory serves me well, those were the 5 people that were there a lot.
Yeah.
And we used to take penalty kicks. And now, I mean, I come to your practice about 2 weeks ago at the Olympic Stadium, and when the practice is over, nobody's looking at me to take a penalty kick, Gabe. I have no idea why.
Well, did you sign a waiver for insurance for in case you get hurt or something? If not, I'm not going to let you.
Yeah, with the shape I'm in, I probably would pull something for sure. Gabe, albeit it was fantastic on Saturday night, 3 goals, down 2-1 at the 90th minute, a couple of goals in stoppage time, a little bit of controversy there with VAR. It almost seems like it made it all that more special. Before the game, though, and I want to address this if I can, and I'd love to get your opinion on it, there was a little bit of a hiccup in terms of delays in fans getting to their seats, okay? My understanding, of course, is this has nothing to do with CF Montreal and everything to do with the Rio. In terms of preparing for a game that would have over 20,000 in attendance. You correct me if I'm wrong. There's a little bit of frustration on everyone's behalf. And Gabe, I understand it because it was at this opening launch at the Club Soda on the Tuesday that you told everyone we're going to be at least 20,000 for the game at Olympic Stadium. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they didn't have time to prepare. Explain to me what happened, please. And please explain to me if a call was placed by yourself or a member of your organization earlier today to the Rio, trying to understand what happened.
Yeah, I guess, Tony, to begin with, I want to apologize for the club for any disturbances that happened before the game. It's unacceptable. You know, our fans get there early. They want to get to their seats. You know, we have a goal in the second minute. You're entitled to see that goal. So I do want to apologize on behalf of the club for any bad things that happened and before the game. Now, yes, I spoke to the folks at the Olympic Park this morning. There is a meeting that's going to happen later today just to come back and do a postmortem of what happened. These are things that should not happen, and they definitely need not to happen in the future. Okay, so we have to work collaboratively with the Olympic Park in terms of how the game happens. Like, at least at the Olympic Stadium, we control what happens on the field, right? That's in our hands. But the rest in that amphitheater, it's on the Olympic Park. But I'm not pointing fingers here. We want to sit down and make things better for our fans.
I know that CF Montreal has absolutely nothing to do with the Montreal Expos, and soccer is not baseball, but I want to maybe make a comparable anyway. When the Expos used to be in town, the home opener was a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. If I don't go to any of the other 80 games at home this season, it's okay because I'm going to be at the opener. Mind you, you want the fans to go as many games as possible. Let's get that out of the way. But it was a big deal, and they would get Cirque du Soleil to come in, do some festivities, do some entertainment, and they would have a caravan, this, that, and whatever. Correct me if I'm wrong, but other than the opening launch at the Club Soda, there weren't those kinds of festivities, and there wasn't that kind of hype. Now, is it that, you know, in the wink of an eye, the season opener just crawled up on us and it just happened? Is it that we're saving maybe something a little bit more special when the home opener is going to happen at our own stadium, which is Stade Saputo? Your thoughts, please.
Again, when you lay out the entire season, you have a plan in place, whether from a communications, marketing perspective. Our season started at the end of February, so that's when the season started. Yes, you're going to say some families, some fans, some folks don't have their minds at soccer just yet. Perhaps they're skiing or doing other sports, but it's our job to be out there in the market. So for the beginning of the season, we focused a lot on social media. A lot of the history and our players via social media. We also had a retail push, whether it's on, let's say, digital newspapers, on television and things like that to see our team. But it's just a concerted and a consistent effort throughout the year. And I can't say that, no, we're not putting emphasis on our first game at the Big O. It's a home opener. It's important for us. And I'm thankful that the fans turned out. They turned out at our launch last Tuesday at Club Soda, which I believe played a role in us winning that game on Saturday. There was all that hype, all that energy for the newcomers. They saw what it was to be a fan of CF Montreal, and all our fans right in back of that goal there. When Kyoto scored, we saw the passion. So I would say it's a concerted effort throughout the year that we're putting forward. There will be theme nights that we're going to be communicating, hopefully in the upcoming weeks, so that people have a good understanding of what's going to happen and all the events behind our 30th.
All right. Full transparency, Gabe. One of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, and I've asked Jeremy Filosa and Gavino DeFalco to join me. We tape on Sundays and Thursdays with them. Is I feel the media doesn't give enough time to CF Montreal in this city, in this province, and in this market. And I felt kind of guilty about saying it. And all I was doing was hosting a Montreal Canadiens podcast. So I figured I got to do something. I didn't do it for the money, believe me not, because if I would have, I probably would have did a second Montreal Canadiens podcast or a hockey podcast. I did it to help the team. I did it for the city. I did it for the fan base. And I did it for my love of the game and the love of the team. Can you, having said that, we're always waiting to see more marketing initiatives. We're waiting to feel a buzz in our city, right? So we're doing what we can on our end, and I'm sure you guys are doing what you can on your end. Can you give us an idea, even though I know you said you're going to communicate it soon, of maybe one theme night that's around the corner, or give us an idea of when you sat down before the season started and you basically took a look at the entire season? And are you trying to spread out the marketing? Is that what you're trying to do, basically, or?
Well, it's a concerted effort. Like you have a marketing campaign that lasts pretty much the whole year. You want to do your pushes at the right time, and with the reality of our schedule being away so much and far, I guess, from the eyes of our fans and the proximity, we finally felt it, to be honest with you, last Tuesday at Club Soda, where we're like, hey, by the way, we play in Montreal, so It's a bit of a challenge. Then we have this one-off game at the Big O, and then we come back perhaps a month later to Stade Saputo, our real home, if I can put it that way. So it's a bit of a challenge to really allocate at the right time, the right pushes. Yeah. So that's what we're working on. And again, I don't want to break the punch of my colleagues in marketing and comm, but we do have some of the themes will be recurrent from year to year, but we have some new ideas as well for this year that, again, I'll keep it as a surprise.
All right. Okay. You just talked about Stade Saputo. Speaking of which, it was a couple of weeks ago that you joined Olivier Brett at FC 99 at BPM Spa, and you said something that kind of caught the city by storm, right? But let's listen to it again.
On s'est dit, même l'année passée, cette année, qu'on prenait un pas de recul pour mieux avancer. Donc, dans le fond, on examine toutes les possibilités qui sont devant nous pour, si on veut, améliorer l'expérience de nos partisans, que ce soit une amélioration au Stade Saputo ou un nouveau stade. Tout est sur la table pour l'instant.
Translation, we are analyzing the possibilities of getting a better fan experience or game experience to our fans. And so when analyzing everything, it's either be it at Stade Saputo or at another stadium. Okay. the word analyzing is the one that I think we should focus on, which probably a lot of people didn't because they took that clip and, oh my God, they're going into another stadium. So you're analyzing. So let me ask you this. When did this analysis begin and where are we with it?
Sure. So again, the intent was not to do a storm or a bomb or call it whatever's been called. Really, the intent was to reiterate what I had said when I came in almost a year ago, day by day now, was to say that I guess last year and this year, it's a good time to take a step back before we can go forward in the best way. So it's analyzing anything that we do and everything at the club. With the sporting philosophy, we know what we're doing. It's already on track with the work that Olivier has done ever since he came in 3-4 years ago. Now, in terms of the marketing and comm, the way how we do the sales, how we communicate, our partnership strategy, and obviously the stadium itself, we took a step back. And as you know, Tony, there have been different analyses of the improvement of Stade Saputo, right? This dates back many years now, where different iterations have been done, different business cases around it. So when I came in with the new executive and management team, we just took a step back and say, well, listen, page blanche, what's the realm of possibilities, right? Yes, there's the improvement. Yes, there could be a new stadium. Is there anything else? So it was really a brainstorm. And we're still at that state right now. We're not ready to make a commitment. We're not ready to make an announcement because any of the potential solutions out there, we have partners with whom we need to work with, whether it's the Olympic Park, whether it's the city, and we're in constant communication with both of them. I've had the chance to meet Mairesse Plante at the end of last year. We're in communication with her team to best improve our overall collaboration, whether it's right here at Saint Lutrilet, where I'm making this call that you know well, Tony, or at Stade Saputo. So, and also, what you need to understand, what's really important for the family is to have that feeling that the city, the province, they want this team here, that they're pushing for this team. And that's going to be critical for the future. So, and to answer your question, in terms of analysis, when I say analysis, well, there's a financial analysis, there's a qualitative analysis as well, operational, fan experience, client service, there's everything that comes into the equation. So right now we're analyzing different possibilities. We're not ready to make an announcement, far from it. We're right now having the right discussions and doing the right due diligence from our end.
I do have to bring up the fact that Pierre-Carl Pelado, who bought the Alouettes, probably give or take a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago, said that if Joey Saputo ever wanted to have a discussion, that he would be more than happy to meet. I know you're not there yet.
Yeah.
But what do you think of him saying what he said? And do you have any comment on that?
I see it as very positive. We would obviously be open to having a discussion with Pierre-Carl and his group. You know, they were our partner at the beginning from the onset of the MLS in 2012 all the way through to last year. So it would be an open communication with them for sure.
Okay, fantastic. Back to Club Soda. You had that launch, and there was a roundtable at one point. It was Pat Leduc, it was yourself, it was Olivier Renard, and was Coach Lozada in on the roundtable? I'm not sure. And Coach Lozada. Okay. Many things were said. One of which was, I believe you talked about winning trophies. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it openly about winning trophies. Yes, even before that, the Club Soda. Yeah.
Okay. So a couple of days ago on AMFC Radio, if I can, I'd like to play the clip of sporting director Olivier Renard in conversation with the guys at AMFC Radio. Here goes.
Je voudrais bien dire aussi, je sais que mon président Gabriel Gervais a dit nous jouons pour gagner la coupe. J'aimerais bien retirer cette pression-là de mon vestiaire. Moi, je suis le leader sportif. Je vais évidemment respecter ce que mon président a dit parce que, premièrement, il a raison. On a une chance sur 29. Donc, il a raison de dire cela. Mais il faut être aussi objectif. Et quand on me demande d'être transparent, quand on voit notre budget, quand on voit la philosophie du club, quand on voit le marché que nous avons, on n'est pas forcément les favoris à gagner. Mais moi, je veux absolument retirer cette pression parce que c'est peut-être pour ça que Rudy ou d'autres joueurs ils sentent peut-être qu'avec la saison dernière, que les attentes sont encore supérieures. Peut-être qu'on va arriver supérieur, peut-être qu'on va être inférieur.
There's just a snippet of the clip. He goes on to mention that, what's important to me is that we play, we do well, everyone progresses, we can put on a show, and players get better. So after that, a lot of fans, you go on social media, they're saying, hold on, okay, are we playing for trophies or are we not playing for trophies? You just want to elaborate?
Yeah, for sure. And I know where Olivier is coming from. Again, he's the type of leader and team player that wants to take the pressure on his own shoulders, okay? But it's also a question of interpretation, I would say. Everybody wants to win titles, okay? So here in North America, we have the luxury to say, if you sneak into the playoffs, anything can happen, right? That's the beauty of it. So when I say let's go out and win trophies, is that every year you start, you can get into the playoffs, you can win the MLS Cup, you can win a trophy with the Canadian Championship. Now there's a new platform with the Leagues Cup that can allow you to get into the CONCACAF if you do well. So there's a lot of platforms to compete and to win titles, okay? Just like European teams will try to play for, finishing first and winning the league title, they can win the cup of the country, they can get into Champions or Europa Leagues. There's different platforms. Well, we have our own platforms where, we can do well. That's how I always came in with that mentality. Now we do have to be realistic. I never said that we're going to win 3 titles and we're going to be first place in MLS. Again, we have to be realistic, and I get it. But in terms of interpretation and what Olivier said, of course, everybody wants to win. But we do have an opportunity to win, and we have that ambition to win in this team. We know we're capable of doing it by being collectively together and really, forming a team just like we did last year.
You talked about the brotherhood early on, and I remember as a teenager going to the games and going to Claude Robillard, 10,000. My buddy Marco was there behind the barbecue and making those sausage paninis. Those were the good old days. And but going out and seeing a team full of Quebecers, the Gervais of this world, the Leducs of this world, the Placentinos of this world, the Grandes of this world, the Gerbas of this world. I mean, you name it. The team was packed with players from Quebec. There's a lot of them on the team right now, and that makes me very, very, very happy. But the team is young, and the coach has said so, where pretty much half the team is age 20 or younger. It's going to be tough to win games when half the team is age 20 or younger. And we know that it's been clear that there aren't going to be big investments on the transfer market. That's at least what we've been told up until now in terms of bringing in a high-profile DP. That's not going to happen this year. My question to you, though, is when you're 0-3 and you haven't scored a goal, and of course you have your plan, at any point do you, Gabriel Gervais, put up your hand and say, guys, should we maybe not revisit our plan or anything like that? Or do you not get involved in those conversations because you're the president and that's sporting?
I mean, I'll be involved because they're going to ask for my opinion, but it's really Olivier Renard that has full ownership and accountability for the sporting side. But, I've been in the game long enough, and, they know both him and Vasily. If they want my advice, they'll get it. So we have a plan in place, and you stick true to it, okay? It's not because you're 0-3 that then all of a sudden you're going to panic and change completely what you're trying to build. That's not the right way to manage a team. That's not the right way to manage a company. If something happens all of a sudden and then you get derailed, that cannot happen. So we're going to stick true to our mentality, our philosophy. We know our team can play better. We know that. I mean, in our first 4 games, we know we can only get better. And yes, there's going to be some growing pains, but I went through growing pains as well. When I joined the Impact, we were very, very young in 2002. We matured, we did well, and then we were rewarded. So we're going to stick true to our mentality and not change. And no, I'm not the type, Tony, you've known me long enough, I'm not the type to panic. on these things because I'm seeing some positive, I would say signals from the team, even though we're 0-3, that we would only get better.
All right. On that note, here's Coach Lozada once again on FC 919 with Olivier Brett at BPM Sport. Let's listen carefully.
Mon premier match, mon début comme professionnel, c'était avec 21 années.
Wow.
Donc, ça veut dire que, à comparaison avec des autres joueurs jeunes, j'ai commencé mon carrière professionnelle plus tard.
Mm-hmm.
Et même ça, avec 21, j'étais pas prêt.
Okay, so the coach says even himself as a player, and he had a nice career himself, he made his pro debut at 21 years of age. And he says, even me, like it wasn't easy. I wasn't ready. He went on to say, you need to get in games to be ready. You need to be physically mature to be ready. And he didn't have it. And young players usually need to mature physically. They need to, get a little bit of beef on their body. So having said that, and I know it was clear that there's a plan, and I love it, by the way, giving the kids from here an opportunity. I think it's about time. And I also think that, with all due respect to the MLS, I think it's attainable. I think it's attainable that players can come from this market and whether it's this academy or Quebec soccer, and they can play in the MLS prior to being age 20. I think it's attainable. But does anything prohibit you from maybe and has this been discussed, maybe a little bit of a hybrid model? So probably go out and say, I don't know, just take a look at and say, okay, you know what? We have these kids, we have these young players, but fans will go out and they'll support young players, they'll support players from here, but they also want to support a winning team. And if we don't have one, maybe we can go out and we can go on the market and go get I'll throw it a number 10 as an example, and surround the young players by that number 10. So now the fans get the number 10 that they can watch. The players will play with that 10. They can still be playing. They can still get minutes. And maybe they'll actually even look better because if they give the ball to a number 10, he's probably going to be able to do stuff with it, right? Where are we in terms of a hybrid model? At all possible in the near future?
Well, again, we take a step back, and this is something I said as well a year ago, was that if we have an opportunity to improve the team and by the way, we're always looking to improve the team. It's not because you would say you haven't moved as much on players during last offseason or during the Mercado that we're not trying to constantly improve the team. I just want to say that Olivier and Vasily and the rest of the team are working extremely hard to analyze the whole team and to find ways to improve it. Now, just to come back to my initial comment, if we do have an opportunity to bring a more experienced player that has more tenure, that can fit into our system, our philosophy, then we're going to analyze that possibility. So if you call that a hybrid, then yes, we're always open to opting for a more seasoned, more experienced player to help the rest of the group. That's always on the table. But I mean, that's part of our philosophy. If that can help develop the young players, improve our team, make us better on the field, give a better show to our fans. And I repeat it, we want to be competitive year in and year out, even though we say we have a development philosophy. Again, a top player, DPs, call them whatever you want, does not ensure to have, first and foremost, a good locker room and then good performances on the pitch.
The question, though, needs to be asked. Maybe there are some, you know this, right? There are some who would rather have the big name, and maybe even if you don't go as far, they go watch the big name. But I'm glad you said what you said, because I get stopped all the time, and people talk to me about CF Montreal, among other things. And I hear they don't want to spend and they don't care. And I look at them and I say, like, folks, no one's in professional sports not to win. Let's get that out of the way. And if they didn't care, they wouldn't be here. They could be somewhere else. I mean, they don't have to do this, right? It's probably the least profitable out of all the entities that belongs to the family. It's a very proud family. It's a very proud board. It's very proud people working for them, like the Gervais and the Renards of this world. I think it's safe to say that you care. And I'm glad you said what you said, because some people think, well, they don't care.
No.
They're not spending.
No, they care so much. Like the family has been here for 30 years, helping the development of soccer, okay, giving back to the community constantly. We've had a lot of success in 30 years, right? We've lived some great emotions.
Yeah.
But again, we have to be responsible in what we do going forward. Yes, there's been some big players that have come. Has that brought more championships than perhaps having a younger team, a development team? I guess time will tell, right? But the success of last year was really built upon young players surrounded by some experienced, individuals, but they were all united and battling for the same thing. A bit like my teams that I had when I played for the Impact, we were rock solid as a locker room. Perhaps not the most talented of the league, but we were going to fight for every single inch, and that's what brought success for us. So we're building the team around that. Again, I can't reiterate enough how much Joey Saputo and his family care about the team, the community. If there's a good opportunity to do an investment on I would call it a bigger name player, or just a player more experienced, we'll do it. But it has to be responsible, and it has to be done the right way. And if I go back just at a high level, we've never been over 10,000 season tickets, okay? Whether it's with the Drogbas, Piattis, Divayos, Nestas of this world, or right now with the Wanyamas, the Piets, the Chouanières, sorry. So it's, right now this year we've done much better in terms of season tickets. We've gone up. We've gone up in terms of the, how do you call it? Le réabonnement. So
yeah, renewals.
Renewals. Sorry, we're at 90%.
No problem.
This year, and we've done it with a young team. So again, it doesn't mean that you have a big name that necessarily your fans are going to stick with you for the long term. So we're hoping by having this proximity, young players, good performances on the pitch, good performances of our players with their national teams, we're going to be able to be closer to our fans, close to the community.
I kept you longer than I said I would, so I do apologize. I want to say in ending, maybe if we can have one more minute. Apple doesn't come without hiccups. There's growing pains for anyone when they start something, right? I think Apple's going to be great for the league. I mean, I'm already seeing, like, I can hear the players as if I'm on the field with them. I can see the players as if I feel like I can touch them, I think Apple's going to be great. Your thoughts on Apple so far?
Yeah, I mean, Apple is the biggest company in the world, the most innovative company in the world, and we're lucky enough to have them as our partners. Like anything else, there'll be growing pains. And again, we're going to have to, I guess, put all our energy in Apple as well, because the future of the MLS is with Apple. And when Apple says, I'm in it, I'm committed, trust me, they're in it and they're committed, and they're going to put the resources in for this to be a success. So I'm very excited about it. I didn't know what it meant to have this app and all the content. Now, we're wrapping our heads around it, and we know we can do great things. So I'm very excited about it. But I know that in terms, I would call it, of maturity of Canada versus the US, perhaps the US is a bit ahead of the parade when it comes to our fans consuming the game from I would say, digital perspective. But I think the future is there, and we're very lucky to be with that company.
All right. Speaking of being happy, take a look at the attendance on the weekend. Look at that. We're going to bring it up. I'm sure this makes you happy. Third best attendance on the weekend. Look at that. 23,352. That's nice, huh?
Oh, delighted. Again, thank you to the fans for showing up. We need you. So very proud of this. Hopefully it'll keep on going at Stade Saputo.
When Gabriel Gervais was hired as CF Montreal president, I went on radio and I went on television, and I said this is a great hire, and I believe that Gabriel Gervais checks all the boxes and has what it takes to be one of the best presidents that a Montreal sports team has ever had. You better prove me right.
Appreciate it, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. All the best to you and CF Montreal this season. Thanks again.
Thank you, Tony.
There you have it. The president of CF Montreal, Gabriel Gervais. I'm Marinaro. It's a sick podcast, CF Montreal Talk. Follow us on all social media channels on Twitter at SickPod CFMTL and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. Thanks again.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.